Exciting news. Stop referring to yourself. Dan Wootton criticizes Meghan Markle's podcast. Please, before we continue, subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. The Duchess of Sussex was called clueless by Dan Wootton and his guest Megyn Kelly in a savage GB News rant following Meghan Markle's most recent podcast episode on difficult women. For months, Meghan Markle has been releasing new episodes of her Spotify podcast Archetypes. In the most recent episode, she spoke with her friends Victoria Jackson, a makeup artist, and Melody Hobson, the chairwoman of Starbucks, about pushy women. Megyn Kelly, an American journalist, and Dan Wootton dissected the Duchess of Sussex's assertions on his GB News program. They critiqued the podcast and admonished Meghan to stop talking about herself. Dan introduced the Duchess as having delivered another lesson in victimization disguised as a podcast, according to GB News viewers. Meghan asserted on the most recent episode of her podcast Archetypes that strong-minded women are labeled difficult since it is a slur for B********H. While not everyone is going to like you, the goal can be for them to respect you, the American, who is married to Prince Harry, added. Dan invited Megyn Kelly, an American broadcaster, to respond to Meghan's most recent podcast assertions. Megyn asserted, "I wouldn't necessarily refer to her as being the B word, but I would categorically refer to her as being ignorant. She is completely illiterate, and I am sick to death of her meaningless off-topic ramblings about her non-problems." Dan was informed by the broadcaster that Meghan lives in the state of California, which has more than 100,000 homeless people living there, and that the homicide rate has reached an all-time high. "And we're meant to care if someone calls Meghan difficult or the B word." Meghan exploded. "She doesn't understand, we don't. Nobody is concerned about these non-issues." Dan was informed by the broadcaster that Meghan lives in the state of California, which has more than 100,000 homeless people living there, and that the homicide rate has reached an all-time high. "And we're meant to care if someone calls Meghan difficult or the B word." Meghan exploded. "She doesn't understand, we don't. Nobody is concerned about these non-issues. She needs to quit whining and start expressing thanks for her life, which she perceives to be incredibly wonderful but finds nothing to celebrate." Meghan continued her tirade by saying, "We don't care. Speak up. Stop talking about yourself and practice gratitude and humility." "Who is watching this podcast?" asked Dan. "I pushed myself for the first few weeks because I thought it was crucial to hear everything, but now I can't be bothered." Dan said, "I think very soon Spotify is going to regret its enormous investment. I think this will be season 1 and done with this program." Meghan responded, "I agree." The Duchess stated on the podcast episode that, "This woman, oh, she's difficult, is what these people are indicating when they use that extremely charged word, B******H, which is basically just a code term for the B word, or is probably not even a code word at all." Pippa Shea wrote on Twitter that millions of listeners and her paying customers disagree, in reference to the GB News controversy. "If you don't like her that much, why are you listening to her, and why are you giving her so much exposure when you find her so repulsive?" questioned Paul D'Souza. "In actuality, you are addicted to her and require her more than she requires of you." The Wootton-Kelly segment is always a highlight of the week, Mike continued. "It might be beneficial to add another 5 minutes, though. At Megyn Kelly understands how to use her words," said Alicia. "I adore her. At Megyn Kelly, quit using Meghan's podcast to advance your waning career," continued Charlotte Kumalo. "You don't have to pay attention to her, but you should be aware that the only time you receive any attention at all is when you bark at Meghan. Put in the effort and stop stealing Meghan's." Thanks for watching.